A federal immigration enforcement operation in South Minneapolis ended in tragedy Tuesday after an Immigration and Customs Enforcement (ICE) agent fatally shot Renee Nicole Good, a 37-year-old Minnesota resident, an incident that has shaken the city and ignited intense public anger, political condemnation, and renewed national debate over the conduct of federal immigration agents. Subscribe, like, and share. Thanks. The shooting happened in the late morning hours in a densely populated residential neighborhood, where multiple ICE vehicles and agents were conducting what officials described as an enforcement action. Residents reported a sudden and overwhelming law enforcement presence, with unmarked vehicles, armed agents, and blocked streets creating confusion and fear among people living nearby. According to statements released by the Department of Homeland Security, an ICE agent discharged his weapon after claiming he felt his life was in immediate danger during an encounter involving Good. Federal authorities allege that Good attempted to maneuver her vehicle in a way that posed a threat to agents on the scene. She was struck by gunfire and pronounced dead shortly afterward, despite efforts by emergency responders. That official explanation has been sharply disputed by witnesses and community members who were present at the scene. Several eyewitnesses said Good did not appear to be acting aggressively and questioned why lethal force was used. Videos circulating online show chaotic moments before and after the shooting, further intensifying calls for transparency and fueling public skepticism of the federal account. Civil rights advocates and local leaders have demanded the immediate release of body camera footage and surveillance recordings to clarify what occurred. Good's family has spoken out forcefully, rejecting claims that she posed a threat. Her mother identified her as a loving daughter, a devoted mother, and a compassionate individual who cared deeply about those around her. Relatives emphasized that Good was not the target of any immigration enforcement action and said she had no reason to expect a deadly confrontation with federal agents. Family members described the shooting as senseless and avoidable, calling for justice and accountability. City officials in Minneapolis expressed grief and outrage, with several leaders openly criticizing ICE's presence and tactics. The mayor and members of the city council issued statements mourning Good's death while questioning why federal agents were operating in residential neighborhoods without coordination with local authorities. Some officials renewed calls for ICE to withdraw from Minneapolis entirely, citing long-standing concerns about public safety, trust, and the impact of federal immigration operations on local communities. At the state level, Minnesota leaders condemned the killing and urged federal authorities to conduct a thorough, independent investigation. They also appealed for calm, asking residents to protest peacefully while demanding answers. Lawmakers said Good's death underscored broader concerns about the militarization of immigration enforcement and the potential consequences for civilians who are not involved in any criminal activity. As news of the shooting spread, hundreds of residents gathered near the scene for vigils and demonstrations. People lit candles, laid flowers, and held signs bearing Good's name, while others chanted for justice and accountability. The protest reflected deep frustration and grief, with many residents saying the incident has eroded trust between the community and federal authorities. While emotions ran high, demonstrations remained largely peaceful into the evening hours. Friends and neighbors remembered Renee Nicole Good as a caring, generous person who was deeply committed to her family. She leaves behind loved ones, including a child, who are now grappling with sudden loss. Those who knew her said she was not politically active or confrontational, and described her as someone who avoided conflict and focused on supporting those close to her. Good's death has quickly become a focal point in the national conversation about immigration enforcement, use of force, and federal authority within cities that have resisted cooperation with ICE. Advocacy groups argue the shooting illustrates the dangers of aggressive enforcement tactics and have called for policy changes, stricter oversight, and limits on the use of lethal force by immigration agents. Federal investigators have confirmed that the shooting remains under review, though no timeline has been given for when findings will be released. The agent involved has not been publicly identified. Meanwhile, community leaders and Good's family continue to press for independent oversight, saying justice cannot be achieved without full transparency. As Minneapolis mourns, the killing of Renee Nicole Good has left a lasting mark on the city, raising urgent questions about safety, accountability, and the human cost of immigration enforcement. The outcome of the investigation is expected to have significant legal, political, and social implications well beyond Minnesota.